Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Nodos? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know show. Oh, my goodness. So it's one of those type of starts to the show where technical difficulties just from every angle hit us all at once.
All around.
Right as we started, we had audio issues. We had, technical issues with the cameras, everything all at once. So we had to shut it down for a quick minute.
We'll get them next time.
That's right. And we're back. Now we're back. We got the audio working. We got everything working. Thanks to the most professional audio engineer that I know, Jimmy, alongside of me. We got all ironed out, all figured out. So we're back to talk some more football with you guys. And, unlike some of these other football talk shows, even like the NFL networks of the world and the ESPNs of the world and everything, when it comes to this portion of the year, it seems like they struggle more than most, or more than a lot of people, with topics to talk about. We understand it's a very hard time of the year. OTAs are kind of happening. Mandatory OTAs are happening for some teams right now. And there's not a whole lot of information coming out, not a whole lot of news, unless you get a signing here or signing there. So I feel like we do a pretty good job, and we've come up with some topics to talk about. We're going to take you, on this little journey through these couple of months until we get to training camps with all these different topics. So this week, we're going to be going division by division, and we're going to, give you a little bit of an insight. What's the biggest questions for these teams in these different divisions and what have you. So other than that, we got a couple other little stories to talk about. What do you think?
Absolutely. And you guys bring it on too. Always welcome in the comments. So light it up in the comments. Make sure you guys share the video too as well. You're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter too. We're on everything tonight. Restream has now allowed us to go through a lot of different other things now. So we can go all over the place. We're on Godzilla Media.
Not to mention, listen, if you're listening out there on your podcast and everything, make sure you give us a follow real quick. Also, if you're interested in following us on any podcast, we're everywhere. So we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're everywhere. Anywhere you get your podcast, make sure you drop us a follow. But if you want to be more interactive, that's where we brighten up. That's where we shine. If you want to be more interactive, make sure you drop in the comments below, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and ask questions, give us your opinion about whatever we're talking about, anything, fantasy questions, what have you. As long as it's football, we got you.
Yep, absolutely. So let's get into it. The most recent news that's going on here too. We've been talking about the Broncos being up for sale. Now the heirs to that franchise weren't able to come to an agreement now and hold on to that franchise, so it went up for sale, and now it's been official. We heard about potentially that it was going to be Rob Walton, who is an heir to the oldest son of the Walmart industry now. So big conglomerate, major person here now in industry, and a person with deep pockets too. A lot of money going on here around there. So now there it is. The Denver Broncos sold for approximately $4.5 billion now.
When the sale became official, I think it was yesterday. The final number, it was being discussed at 4.5. It finished off at 4.6,
right? 6.5, yeah.
Billion. I mean,
Not
think
million,
about that.
$billion.
$1 billion. So if you ever were interested in owning a sports team, it doesn't even have to be NFL or anything. They're pretty expensive. So make sure you save your pennies.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you talk about owning sports teams and stuff like that, now that they have purchased the Denver Broncos, this family is big for owning sports teams in Colorado, Joe. And maybe some people didn't even know that Ann Walton, and again, part of Rob Walton's sister here, part of the Walmart industry, married Stan Kroenke. And we all know who that is, the owner of the Los Angeles Rams, who is now, it said, I was going to cover expenses. Now he's asking the league to pay for $7 million of each, have everybody to cover the rest of the costs here. But his wife now, who is of the Waltons, she actually owns the Colorado Avalanche, who is currently kicking ass in the NHL playoffs right now, just swept. And they are ready to see who they're going to be facing here in the Stanley Cup Finals. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting and exciting for them. But she is an owner, too. A lot of people didn't know that. But Rob also, he owns now the Denver Broncos. And she also owns the Denver Nuggets, too, as well. So this family known for owning a bunch of different franchises. And if you look at the Stan Kroenke on the other side, he is also an owner of the National Lacrosse League, Colorado Mammoth, and the Colorado Rapids of the MLS, which is the Major League Soccer. So this family altogether, between the Kroenkes and now the Waltons, owning a lot of different franchises here and really controlling the whole outlook of Colorado sports, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the craziest thing is when we discovered the kind of the marriage between Stan and Ann. You got a person from one of the bigger families in America from the Walmart industry, Ann, and then Stan Kroenke marries her, and Stan owns the Rams. And Ann owns, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it seems
Rob,
like
so.
And now, like, she's kind of involved. You got to admit, like, they're all involved together. So this begs the question. Now keep your eyes close to this whole situation, because now that you already know that Stan owns the Rams and Ann is part of the family that is now owning the Broncos. How often are you going to start to see players go in between those two teams now?
Right.
Whether it be a trade, whether it be someone gets cut and gets signed by one of these two teams. So the game of football, just like a lot of other sports, it's a game of relationships. And now that you have basically two franchises in the NFL, all in the same family, so to speak.
Right. One in the AFC, one in the NFC now, too.
Right,
so I mean that could be interesting, something to look at. And I think some people are even raising the question: how are they going to be doing their business? Because there's some shady stuff between Walmart, I guess, and a lot of different suppliers that they've been doing and lowballing people, and that's how are they able to get the prices, which it helps consumers for them. But a lot of other people dealing with Walmart, they want to be able to get their product into Walmart to be sold. But if they do, they really have to pay a serious price and take a cut of what money they might get, so that Walmart can do that.
Yeah, it's big corporate business. So I mean, and that's for another time.
Absolutely. Mike Tackett's in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Mike?
He says, watching from YouTube, Mark Zuckerberg isn't a know-it-all. So what is he? Did you get banned from Facebook, or is he just not allowing us to stream or something like that? Is Zuckerberg really taking offense to us? Did we get put down again? Because he has done that to us before. I don't think we've officially been in Facebook jail, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do eventually. Though. I don't try to do too many things.
We don't talk politics, so I mean, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know, but we appreciate you watching us on YouTube. But you are getting the full effect. If everybody that's listening right now, even on Facebook, the best way to watch us is via YouTube, because not only do you get to chat and interact there, but you get to view the Facebook chat. So if anybody is on Facebook, you get to interact with their comments and see their comments. Unfortunately, we can't get the YouTube comments to go through Facebook. So if you watch it on YouTube, it helps us to get some more views on YouTube for one, but then you can also see the comments from both pages all together. So we really appreciate it.
I want to say real quick, listen, if you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor. It really does help our channel out to get noticed by other people. It's just a simple thing. Just click the like button. Like the video, and that'll actually help get the algorithm all kind of stirred up, so then maybe it'll push us up the ladder, so to speak.
Yeah.
Mike Tackett also commented his Facebook stream isn't working.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Mike, for the update. I don't know why. But,
we can get Joe talking in a little bit, and then maybe I can try working on it, get my expertise on that.
They were already shared. So if they're just not going through, then it's Facebook.
It is what it is, and everybody move over to YouTube. All right, so Denver Broncos sold to Walmart, Joe. So what do you think about this, though? And what do you think? How does this going to impact the NFL? I mean, we talked about this when this team was coming up for sale, that potentially get a group again of some minority leaders, people that with money too as well, and can gather together and try and change the outlook of some of these things and the way the ownership is. But now another ultra powerful super rich family that's white, again, they're running another franchise basically with their own money again, just inherited money. Boom, you're in there. Lifers, like guys that we talked about last week a little bit too. People that, again, had just been part of this money throughout their whole life. Not something new, not a new blood, And then now we've talked about maybe, the Maras and these older people that are still owning franchises. When is it going to phase out now of these older guys phasing out and some of the younger bloods coming in that are a little more transitional, or how do you want to say, even more, I don't know, open to different suggestions or even up for being sold into a different type of management?
As far as the ownership goes and everything with Walmart, like, we kind of saw this coming. And this is something that when we talked about, teams being available to be purchased or whatever, where new ownership would come in and what have you, we were hoping for a little bit of a change at that level. We were hoping for a different type of owner to step up, more like even like a minority group to come together to collaborate to purchase one of these teams to hopefully change the culture from the top down. And so far, we just haven't seen that. And once again, we kind of expected it, whether it be the Broncos for sale or Washington Commanders for sale or whoever. We kind of have come with close to grips with the fact that most likely it's going to be another white owner. It's not going to be a Spanish owner or a black owner or an Asian owner or something like that. So far, we're just not there yet. And it's sad because it's yet another traditional white family that takes over another franchise that some people might have some issues with, because Walmart has been known to not be, on the streamlined on the streamline of things side. So this might rub some people the wrong way because it's purchased, but listen, they have more money than they know what to do with. So this was kind of like almost, it was probably already in the works before anybody else knew about it. And now it's just official. Now it's being reported. So Walmart basically now owns the Broncos. So make sure you get your Broncos T-shirts at all Walmart locations across the U.S. because it's going to be coming. And what I'm interested to see, though, too, is now that there's a new ownership, and I know like the logo hasn't been changed by some years, but will the logo not necessarily get changed altogether with a new team name? I'm not expecting that. But what's to say that and we made a joke about this in our group, that what's to say that they just changed the colors now and make it kind of almost similar to what the Chargers have, because the Walmart colors are yellow, blue, and white.
Yeah, right. Imagine that. Well, the thing is, too, it's like, do they change the sponsorship, on the stadium too? And if that happens, like, is it going to be Walmart or Arena or whatever they want to call it, Walmart Stadium? But then I started to think about it too. Like, how are they going to make it work for them? Because they know how to run a great business. So do they pull out Coke products and they put like Sam's Choice in there, or
Sam's Choice,
Members Mark, like everything? It's like, I'll have a Coke. Like, we don't have that. We have Members Mark.
It'll
Here
be
we go, Sam's Choice.
That's actually what the name of it will be, is Members Mark Stadium.
There you go. They're just going to have all that. And then again, you could be able to even shop while you're there too. You go home with your groceries when you leave. Like I said, you could maybe stop at the little nail salon, and you get your nails sprayed or done too as well.
Make sure you go to parking lot G for your lawn and garden needs before you go home.
Yeah, right. Mike Tackett says, does that cause conflict of interest selling all 32 teams nationwide? Denver is now getting profits for selling 31 other teams too. It might.
I don't think it would be. No, I don't think it would be a conflict of interest, honestly, because even if they were to put Broncos in all the other stores, like for real, the teams that are at home, like, you know what I mean? Like if you're in L.A., you got the Rams and you got the Chargers. They're still predominantly going to sell Rams and Chargers. They're not going to sell Broncos shirts if there's not Broncos fans there, but they will sell some, and that's going to boost, the profits. And
yeah. But I think again, with the profit sharing though, they're good on that. So I don't think it's going to matter.
Profit sharing just comes from each team. So I mean, that doesn't matter.
All right. So, Joe, we have some exciting news, I think, to tell everybody, too.
We
ended
do.
up getting a new sponsor,
Yes,
by the way,
baby.
too, over the
Yes.
week. Joe,
I'm excited about this one.
Why don't you tell everybody about our new sponsor here?
Our new sponsor is none other than SeatGeek. That's right. Where the one destination everybody needs to go. If you're a know-it-all and you're looking for a live event that you want to go to, a concert that you want to go to, a sports team that you want to go to, anything that where you can buy your ticket from, SeatGeek.com is the place to go. That is the place that you need to go because why, I tell you? Because not only is SeatGeek.com, they are one of our sponsors now, but also they're doing us a favor. They're doing you guys a favor. They're going to actually give you guys $20 off of anything $50 that you spend or more on your total. If you got $50 in your total, you're going to get $20 off, but you have to enter promo code GOZ, G-O-Z. If you enter that promo code GOZ, G-O-Z, and you spend $50 or more, you're going to get $20 off. That's a lot of money. It's not 10%. It's not 15%. It's $20.
$20.
Boom. 20 bones off your $50 bill or more, and that's huge savings. So, I mean, think about it. Like you're going to get a couple of tickets, and on SeatGeek.com, which, by the way, we've used the site numerous amount of times, and it is super easy. It's just great. Like it's easy to use. You get your tickets, bada boom, bada bing, you're done.
Boom.
And you get your tickets sent to you. So I mean, it's great.
That's what I mean. You're gonna get the tickets anyways. Like Mike Tackett says, I'll be using SeatGeek for great value stadium at Mile High games.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah,
I like
there you
it.
go. And that's what I
But
mean.
yeah.
You're going to get the concert tickets. Everybody's going to concerts right now. I buy concert tickets weekly, Joe. I'm going to so many concerts lately. It's crazy. But again, I started looking into the NFL season tickets. I started looking at the Giants games, and they are cheaper on SeatGeek right now. And that's before I even put the promo code in. So put the promo code GOZ in there. You guys get another
GOZ.
$20 right back in there.
Yeah.
So,
And, listen, not to say, not for nothing, but listen, this is where you save money is with SeatGeek.com. Enjoy the summer months. This is the way to do it. Any venue that you want to go see, like we said, concert and all that, we've already bought a couple of tickets through SeatGeek.com using this promo code. It's been amazing. We're going to a lot more concerts, in the near future, and we're going to use SeatGeek.com. Make sure you get on there, SeatGeek.com, enter the promo code GOZ, G-O-Z, and get $20 off any kind of $50 purchase or more.
Yep. All right, there you go. All right, Joe, I'm bringing back a segment quick here. This is one of your favorites, but I've got the In the Know fact of the day. That's right.
Damn time.
It's the NFC North we're doing here. So I found a fact out about the NFC North, and here it is, Joe. The division earned the moniker Black and Blue Division due to its intense rivalries and physical style of play. And this nickname is still used regularly today. It is also known as the Frostbite Division, as all teams played home games in late season winter cold until the mid-70s. So how about that? The mid-1970s.
I did know about the Black and Blue Division. I knew all about that, but I did not know about the Frostbite
Division. That's
it was
right.
also called that. That's pretty cool. That's something new.
Yeah, absolutely.
See?
Yeah, because you think about it, that frosty North too, and those teams and those toughness. And that's probably why they are the Black and Blue Division too, because they're probably blue from being cold, and then they got to bash each other and then bruise each other up to get it going and get heated up. So it gets physical over there. So yeah, absolutely. So I thought that was a good fact of the day to find out about these this division. But that's right. This week we're getting back into it. We are doing the NFC North's biggest questions here, Joe. Biggest questions.
Let's go.
Here. All right, so let's get into the first team, and that is the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears. All right, so
way to start this division off.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's start with the bottom feeders. No, they aren't of this division. It was was it the Lions last year? So I can't even remember who finished last. But here we go. The Bears. Will Justin Fields take a step forward this year? Now, this seems like a pretty basic question and stuff, but that's got to be the question that happens this year. You've got the new, ownership, the new coaching in there. So no more Matt Nagy. So you got
Matt Eberflus.
Eberflus, who is the defensive coordinator, was from the Colts, right?
It's Eberflus. That's
Eberflus from the Colts, and then now the offensive coordinator who was from the Green Bay Packers here now to get Justin Fields to get going here. So a different type of flow here for this team that seems they're kind of on like a rebuild right now because of everything that they've gone through. But still, weaknesses. Wide receivers still not the best here. They've got a mix of names that we've heard, but nobody really blowing you off the doors here and something that's going to say, hey, this is the true guy that Justin Fields is going to rely on. And he's going to go to you. Would have to think maybe Darnell Mooney on this one.
Yes, absolutely.
And still the same running backs back there, David Montgomery and whatnot. But even losing some things on defense. No more Akeem Hicks, no more Khalil Mack there too as well. So a little bit of an overhaul on this team and kind of a reset. So how well will he perform? I think he'll be running for his life a little bit here this year.
And he was doing that last year. So, I mean, nothing's changed. Their offensive line looks like there's a lot of question marks across that offensive line. And that to me is probably the biggest question about this team is how good can they protect Justin Fields this year? Because if you're looking at their roster right now, there's nobody that really kind of pops out to you and said, oh, well, that guy's good. He's going to be like, besides Cody Whitehair, maybe. Cody Whitehair has been injured, recently in his career, early in his career. He returns healthy yet again. He's probably the best offensive lineman they have at this point, now that James Daniels has moved on to a different team. And after that, you got guys that are kind of no-namers, a lot of guys that might struggle throughout the season, guys that aren't going to pop out to you and say, oh, well, they got a solid O-line to protect them. There's a lot of question marks there. So, I mean, that's a major issue. And because they're rebuilding, because they have a lot of turnover on the roster right now, Darnell Mooney looks like he's the number one. And quite honestly, he's going to be a decent number one for this team. But after him, just like Jim kind of alluded to, the rest of this receiving core is kind of like just patched up with duct tape and bubble gum. Really, you got Tajay Sharp, you got Quamius St. Brown, you got Dante Pettis. These are all guys that have already been given shots to be starters in this league and haven't been able to, reach that peak and become one of those starters. A guy that's kind of underrated, I know, is David Moore on this receiving core, who I kind of expect maybe to push himself up through the ranks and maybe end up being a starter for the Bears. So by the end of training camp, you might just see Darnell Mooney as your number one, David Moore as your number two, and there's a couple of interesting young receivers. One up-and-coming guy by the name of Byron Pringle from the Chiefs, who I didn't think got enough playing time. Now he's definitely going to be out there and get some playing time. A rookie, and Vallis Jones Jr. He's a guy I feel that could be developed and to be that starter down the future. Other than that, you look at Justin Fields, can he take a step forward? And I know everybody's going to expect that and hope that happens. However, you can't expect too much from just him, because if he doesn't have protection, he's not going to have time to get rid of the ball and everything. He's going to be doing more running around than anything. I know the Chicago Bears are traditionally a running football team with David Montgomery, and he's a great back and all, but if you don't have an offensive line up front to create those rushing lanes, to create pass protection so Fields can have some time to throw the ball around, this is going to be a rough year for this offense.
Yeah, I'm in agreement too as well. The same type of deal. Again, running for his life, but even weapons to dump to. Even if you look at tight ends, you're not really afraid of these guys. You've heard of them too, but nothing is blowing you off the doors.
Well, the only guy to say is Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet was a rookie in 2020. Mm-hmm. Got significant playing time last year and kind of started to make a name for himself. So that's one plus that they have in that position, mm-hmm. where Cole Kmet is emerging as that number one tight end, and most likely he's definitely going to hold that position down this season. So other than him and James O'Shaughnessy, maybe. But again, it's not a complete offense, mm-hmm. and I don't expect too much from the Chicago team. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going through way too much of turnover on talent. Remember, no Allen Robinson. He mm-hmm. wanted out. Mm-hmm. He got to be a free agent and left. Their offensive line is still actually I would make the argument it got worse than last season because James Daniels, who is an all-pro guard, he left in free agency, and the Bears didn't make much of an attempt to keep him. So you got to wonder where this franchise is headed now. I understand new regime, we're going to start over, now we're rebuilding, but so far, you're not trending upwards. It looks like you're going backwards.
All right, so let's bring up now the Detroit Lions here. For them, will the Lions be an above 500 team here? A team that showed a lot of heart and everything last year. And that's what I mean. They played a lot of playoff-ranked teams here, really tough and really showed what they could do when they were all running on all cylinders, and a team that really wasn't expected to do a whole lot. They didn't have a whole lot of talent there. They did the whole trade, got Jared Goff there. They brought in some other guys to try and help them out here, but again, nothing was really expected out of it. A lot of big talk over the press conferences, Dan Campbell, a lot of craziness, stuff like that. I wasn't sure what they expect from him, but you know what? This team really stood behind them and everything, and they fought to the end in so many different games. I mean, if it wasn't even for some of those late rallies, and I think they got screwed in that Baltimore Ravens game, they would have beat the Ravens there too.
Right.
So this team now, with what they did even in the draft too, with Aiden Hutchinson as well too, and getting some other weapons too, and now G.J. Chark goes over there too. He can show what he can do after that injury last year and no longer with the Jaguars. So I think they've gotten better this year. So we got a taste of what they could do when they worked together as a team last year under Dan Campbell. Now a second year, I think they really have a chance to do something here.
Absolutely. And it's last season, Dan Campbell had a lot of promises, right? He's like, I'm going to come in here. We're going to be a tough physical football team. We're not going to bow down to nobody. We're going to chew kneecaps off. We're going to spit it in their faces, and we're just going to shove the ball down everybody's throats and play hard-nosed defense. I mean, that was pretty much what he was saying, and he wasn't lying. Like, he really did. I know you hear a lot of coaches promise things and kind of like paint a picture of like, we're going to be this unstoppable team. We're going to rebuild this franchise. But Dan Campbell, you got to admit, he really, not only did he say the words that he said, but he also delivered, and for having just one off season last year, coming in, being that hard-nosed type of coach, he really pulled this team together and has created this kind of like this group of men that have not only come together tightly and closely, but they are also relying on each other now. They're trusting each other. They're playing their hearts out for Dan Campbell and his coaching staff. And that is a huge hurdle that any new regime, when they come in, they have to get over. They got to win the trust of the players, and he won it over in one offseason. So he's already leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of coaching staffs. Now, after last season's I would say success, because to be honest, I almost didn't think they were going to win very many games. I thought they were going to have like maybe be a 2-win team, a 4-win team at the most, and they surprised the hell out of me. Defensively, they played a lot tougher and they were more stingy than I thought they were going to be. Offensively, they put up more points than I thought they were going to against opponents, and in the end, they had a ton, and I mean a ton, of very close games. I mean, games that were coming down to 3 points, 4 points, and they were just barely losing those games. So this is a team that I have a lot of confidence now after seeing what they've been able to do last season. Coming into a second offseason, I think they hit the ball out of the park in terms of the draft with getting Jameson Williams. Now, we all know he had an injury, and that's why he slid down the draft board a little bit. But, man, they got themselves potentially the number one receiver coming out this year at a lower draft spot. Jameson Williams comes in there. As long as he can stay healthy, man, they got themselves a steal. And then DJ Chark, they signed him to a low 1-year deal, a prove-it deal. If he can prove himself this season and stay healthy and be a contributor, this is a team that now, what once was a weakness at receiver, could potentially have 2 very, very good weapons this upcoming season, along with T.J. Hawkinson at tight end. And, say what you want about Jared Goff, but Jared Goff is a solid quarterback. He is a decent quarterback to help win with your team. And DeAndre Swift, we know that early in his career he's been banged up, he's been bruised. He's coming back healthy and determined more than ever.
Yeah, and it's easy to be the question has got to be about Jared Goff here. It's easy to say, well, can he perform? Can he do move forward and things like that? But, I mean, altogether, you saw what, they only mustered up 3 wins last year. But, like I said, there were so many other games that they were in last year that it was tight. And he really didn't show you that, that he's absolutely terrible. It was all Sean McVay. Everybody wants to say it was just Sean McVay all the time, and it was all him and nothing to do. And he hasn't done anything since, that Super Bowl run. But... Right. They've shown if you're just serviceable enough and you don't make dumb mistakes and turn the ball over. I mean, he went to a bad team, and yes, they only had a 3-13 season, but still look at the way my Giants had played and stuff like that. Some of these other teams, they didn't look even nowhere near of playing with passion like the Lions did, or even in close games with the teams like the Ravens and things like that.
Good point.
They didn't even show any of that. So, look, for Christ's sake, our coach even was calling for a quarterback sneak, a 3rd down at the goal line. You know what I mean? He wasn't even going for a 1st down. He was just quitting already to get ready to prepare to punt out of your end zone. Meanwhile, you got Dan Campbell again, and you saw it with every loss that he had, especially early on when they weren't getting the wins. He was wearing it every time those games are over.
Yes,
he was
the
just
emotions.
like, we just ain't got it yet. So I was finishing at 3-13. I think they really have a good chance to go 500 here and not make a push for a division or anything like that. But you're going to see improvement this year. And Jared Goff, with a few more years left on his contract, can show somebody something. And if he doesn't stay with Detroit and they move on from him, he can get another starting job somewhere else even too.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So there will be other jobs out there.
And that's the other thing too, is that Jared Goff is going to grow with this team now, because now they're getting younger. They're getting more, more high end weaponry. And then also think about last year's rookie, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who came on super strong in his rookie year. Now you pair him up with these other 2 weapons. The receiving core is looking pretty nice, to be honest, because they're still developing guys like Quintez Cephas. They're still developing guys like Khalif Raymond. And Josh Reynolds signed in this free agency period. So they got 6 actually high potential type of receivers that they can utilize and rotate in and out and never get tired. So that being said, then you go look at their defense and what they've done, and that was a big weakness too, is defensively. They needed to get better as well. And they got their boy, their hometown guy in Detroit, Aiden Hutchinson in the draft. And they couldn't turn that card in fast enough when they seen that he was still available. So I'm pretty sure Dan Campbell was tripping over himself to get that card sent into the draft.
Absolutely. When you talk about the defense, it was 31st last year, ranked 31st with points for, and then 29th in yardage. So you're seeing how bad that defense was. And a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, homegrown boy there too, went to Michigan, able to play for Detroit, and in that division to where Aaron Rodgers and the Packers right now, I mean, that offense is looking kind of sketchy. You've got the Bears, who aren't very good, and that's a porous offensive line. And Minnesota, who they're going kind of a turnover right now too as well. So that could be scary, seeing him do his thing in that division alone, let alone some of the other teams that they will be facing this season.
Yeah, and something else that I'm noticing too is like they're really kind of putting a strong emphasis on D-line. Because they drafted last draft, not this past draft, but in 2021, they drafted Aleem McNeil, who was seen as more of like a Haloti Ngata-ish type of D tackle, and very young. He slips into this role because of the other 2 free agents that they lost at D tackle. And then Michael Brockers, who they got in a trade from the Rams, basically back to back with Goff.
Yep.
He's also still there, so they got a nice kind of like, and it looks like they run like this 4-3 or 4-2-5 type of defense that the league is starting to really catch on to, and they have some players. I mean, they're not big names, but they have some guys that they're still developing, like Gerard Davis and Julian Aquara and Romeo from the Giants, Romeo Aquara as well. So they got some players. They're going to see what they can do this year with what they were able to add. But all in all, I think this team who surprised me last season, they might surprise a lot more people this season.
All right, yeah. Let me tell you about people that could do something for you, Joe. It's time. Mike Tackett knows right here. I'm talking about my boys there at Mohawk Honda. That's right. Greg Johnson, the general manager out there. Cam McKenna, C-Mac, dude, let's do a deal. I love it, too, because he even got the Mountain Dew type of symbol right there for let's do a deal. It's perfect for C-Mac right there. But they're there. They're on the lots, searching around the lots there for anything that you want, that you need, that's going to fit your budget, fit your style, and they're still doing the Kelly Blue Book Instant Cash offer. So you go there with your trade-in. You could flat out sell it to them, take the cash, and even put the cash down something else, or you could just roll it into trade it in for something else, a newer ride. I mean, you have the CRVs out there that I'm going to be looking at.
Honda Pilot?
Yeah, you got the Pilots. You've got
CRVs?
everything's, everything out there. So, and not even that, just there are other pre-owns that aren't even Hondas there. There's tons of other inventory on the lot. So go to my friends there on Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia, Glenville, or you can go on MohawkHonda.com, which I even like to do, even though I work right down the road from them, because they make it so easy. You can schedule them to pick you up for a test drive. You can look at the cars right there, say you're interested. You can do your trade-in thing right there, your information of how much you can get your appraisal for your car. It's awesome. So MohawkHonda.com, go there, Freeman's Ridge Road, and tell them that Football on the Know sent you, where they go out of their way to please you. That's right, Joe.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about not being pleased right now. It's got to be the Green Bay Packers here with not having Devontae Adams. So my question for the Green Bay Packers is, will the Packers offense struggle this season? Again, you look at the wide receiving room right here for them. And again, you talk about the way the Bears were. I'm not really too afraid of some of these guys. Sammy Watkins is past his prime here. You still have Alan Lazard there, but he hasn't signed, I think, his tender, right? That went up there.
Restricted free agent tender.
Yeah, and Randall Cobb, who's been there. He actually made some plays last year for them, which was kind of surprising, being how old he is and stuff. But they do draft Christian Watson here for them in the second round this season, but not having that go-to guy that Devontae Adams was for them. You saw what happened with that offense when he wasn't there in certain times when he was plagued with some injuries, and how Aaron Rodgers needed that type of guy there. And when it went through that whole debate whether Aaron Rodgers was going to stick around or not, you thought that maybe between him and Devontae Adams, there's going to be a connection there.
A tag team type of deal.
Hey, we're going to stick together. Yeah. Let's run this back. Let's do this again, because we get so far in the playoffs. Let's get it and finish this deal.
Right.
Now he signs back here, stays with the Green Bay Packers, and Adams gets traded to your team, the Vegas Raiders, to be reunited with Derek Carr. It's a match made in heaven right there. You still have the running backs, A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones here, which we talked about this a few weeks back when we were covering the NFC. Do they focus more on that run game and then make it a little easier for Aaron Rodgers to just try and spread it out into some play-action passes here to some of these guys that can get open downfield a little bit here? Do we not see so much of that air-it-out type of jet sweep type of offense, things that they would do sometimes with this Matt LaFleur offense?
Honestly, I think they're going to try. They're going to make an attempt to run the ball more, to try to alleviate some of the pressure that is going to come for Aaron Rodgers. Because now that you don't have Devontae Adams anymore, teams are not going to be as scared as they once were. They're going to be like, you know what? Christian Watson, rookie, unproven. You know what I mean? A guy that needs to be developed. That's why he went in the second round. A guy that still needs to work on his route running concepts. And a guy that still has to get more consistent hands. He might be 6'3", 6'4", and run like the wind, but he still needs to develop. He is not Devontae Adams just yet. Maybe he could be, maybe not. But a big question mark there. And then you go down the list like Alan Lazard. Still not at camp. Still not at OTAs. Does not like the direction that the Packers are going in terms of his contract situation. I know that they've been talking and nothing is getting resolved. That's why he's not there still and won't sign his tender. Randall Cobb, how much longer does he have? I mean, he's getting older and over every single season. And at that position, your legs and your back and everything else starts to break down. So I don't know how much of a difference maker he can be this year with Rodgers. And then after that, like, you could say what you want about the offense, like in terms of their offensive line. Despite them losing a couple of older guys to other teams in free agency, they've replenished them with younger guys that are just as good or maybe even better. So their offensive line is no question to me. Rodgers is still going to have time to throw the ball. They're still going to be able to run the ball to a point. But what I really wonder is the question that you had, Jim, about are they going to run the ball more, is I think it's going to be hard for them to, because teams are now going to key on that running game because of how good Aaron Jones is, because of how good A.J. Dillon is. He's like a truck, carrying the football. So A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, they're going to try to, create and be creative with some plays, maybe to get the ball out in space, out in the open to one of them, and to try to create rushing lanes. But I feel like defenses are going to come really they're going to come really hard down onto this running game. They're going to try to prevent that from happening and force the Packers, I know it sounds funny, but force Rodgers to be one-dimensional and have to throw the ball a lot more, because he does not have the elite-ish, receiving core like he once had. With Adams in the lineup, it opened up the offense for everybody. Now that he's not there, there's no fear. And because there's no fear of an air attack, you're going to see defenses play Green Bay a lot differently this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, we saw even they didn't even have that, say that people didn't fear their offense in the playoffs, but still that last playoff game they were in, it seemed like seeing they were kind of coasting in. They were the top seed in the NFC. Mm-hmm. There was nobody really better that really challenged them so much. They seemed really complacent with just being a little ahead in that game, and in the end, it came back and bit them at the end. Where they kept the teams in there, and they weren't able to put up those the points that you would expect, even with Devontae Adams there. And the fact that they don't have somebody like that now, that just makes it even more scary for them. And when it comes playoff time, when teams are really going to fight hard for that, they're not going to be able to do that. Just score quickly and get back into it.
Yeah, one thing that I will say about Green Bay, and I just want to touch on their defense now. Mm-hmm. This is where a lot of pressure is going to be more on their defense, I feel like, this season than their offense, because their offense is going to rely more now on defense to help keep them in games. And good thing that they've kind of upgraded
in the draft,
in the draft with that side of the ball, because they were looking for another D end in that 3-4 scheme that they like to use, and they got themselves a stud in Devontae Wyatt from Georgia. So I feel like he's gonna be a plug and play player. He's gonna make some plays for them, and another guy from Georgia as well in Quay Walker to play that inside linebacker role for them, along with Preston Smith, Devondre Campbell. They managed to keep, and Rashawn Gary. So their secondary is really good. Their linebacking core looks really solid, and their D line up front is going to hold it down. So their defense, to me, is going to be the almost the tipping point of where Green Bay might end up later in the season, because if they play great and they stay healthy, I feel like they'll win more games than we think they're going to win. But if Green Bay's defense is kind of up and down, and it's more pressure on Rodgers and company to carry the team, I feel like they might be a little bit of a struggling point.
Mike Tackett's in the house. He says lack of depth at cornerback and edge could come back and haunt them.
True, and that just goes along with what we were saying. Like, they got to stay healthy, and any team is going to say that, right? Every team is going to say, as long as this team stays healthy and stays together, we're going to be good. But this defense looks scary on paper, and I feel like if they do manage to stay healthy or healthy enough throughout the season, they're definitely going to make a difference.
All right, he said he talked to Mark Zuckerberg. We're good.
Yeah, you know what I think happened?
What?
I'm happy when I'm playing.
So when we were having our technical difficulties,
yeah.
Mike Tackett caught the technical difficulty part when we shut down the feed.
Might have shut down the feed. That might have been what happened when we played or something.
That's what happened.
That could be it. But
it's okay.
I'm glad that you're back here on Facebook too as well. I almost called it MySpace. How about that, Joe?
Wow, that's
weird.
weird.
We need to bring back MySpace, though. Come on.
So.
The way Facebook has been to everybody and stuff like that too. But I think MySpace, that was a cool thing that a lot of people miss with what they did and stuff like that. Oh, you missed out. There's so many cool different things, bud.
No,
there was a lot of cool stuff to it. And it sucks that it kind of died out the way it did.
Yeah.
But
poor management.
But how? What do you think even about Kevin King that's out there in the free agency?
Free agent.
That he's out there.
Yeah.
He's still a young guy too, and no longer being with the Packers and stuff. I mean, that would be interesting. Why don't they even bring him back? Just something quick. Like, what's going on there with the guy that young being floating out there?
I'm sorry, Mike Tackett just goes hashtag bring back MySpace.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it, dude.
But yeah, Kevin King. I mean, he's a young free agent that's still out there. He's gonna get onto a team. It's gonna take some time. It's one of those situations for a lot of free agents that are out there, whether they be older or younger, and are kind of up and down in their careers. Like Kevin King is the epitome of that. He's very young, very tall, long, lean type of corner who has speed, but he's had his fair share of great plays, but he's also had his fair share of blown plays. So that's pretty much why he's probably hanging out there still. Now, that's not to say that Green Bay might say, hey, just like what Mike Tackett's thinking, we need cornerback depth. Let's bring back Kevin King, who already knows the defense on the cheap, and now we got an extra piece here. But other teams might be thinking the same thing. I feel like now in this stage, teams want to see what they got. They did the draft. They did signings through free agency. Some trades happened, some crazy trades. Now teams are going to go to the OTAs before training camp, maybe even after we get into week 1 or week 2 of training camp. Then you might see some of these free agents start to sign because you're going to have injuries happen, and you're going to have, whether it be new regime or not, you're going to have those coaching staffs and the GMs watching the teams and seeing the personnel that they have. Are they good? Are they bad? Let's move on from that guy, and we're going to sign this guy and this guy. So you're going to see some movement happen as we get closer to training camps.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get to now the final team in the NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings now. For my question for the Vikings, are the Vikings retooling or rebuilding? I mean, when you take a look at their squad here, they're still there with Kirk Cousins. Not a lot of overturning here. A lot of the same faces here. They drafted Ed Ingram here in the second round to cover up that right guard spot, but they still have Garrett Bradbury at center still, and Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, all the same weapons. KJ Osborne, who did well for us in fantasy at times, but Dalvin Cook, if he could stay healthy, even Alexander Madison, when he was out there running, did well for them. But that team that's kind of been floating around in this division to where Green Bay has given them opportunities to compete in this division, but it seems like at times Kirk Cousins, what Kirk Cousins are you getting? You think of all the money that they invested in this guy, and again, the question could have easily been, oh, will Kirk Cousins get him to the playoffs or get him to this or you do this? But I think it's an everything team now because you have a brand new GM, you have a brand new head coach, a whole new system going up in here. You got, things changing. So, with the draft that they did, they went after defense here with getting Andrew Booth and Lewis Seen too. Trying to get a little younger now because they were staying so long in the tooth there. Are they retooling and doing what they can here, seeing they only have Kirk Cousins for 2 more years and then he's a free agent and they're ready to move on after that? So try and get what they can here? Or is it just rebuild and he does what he does, and meanwhile we'll get some guy in there, and then we'll build it the way we want to build it from the ground up?
The one thing that you'll say about Kirk Cousins, and a lot of people say, oh, can't stand him. He needs to get him out of here. We need someone different. But finding a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, is extremely hard. It's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. It's not like, oh, well, whoever you draft, they're going to be good. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen like that. If it did, all 32 teams would have franchise quarterbacks all the time. But they don't. So, I mean, it's extremely hard to find that next guy. And for Kirk Cousins in his situation, he's a good quarterback. Like, I'm sorry, but he is. He is a good quarterback. Is he one of the greats? No. Is he elite? No. But he's a good quarterback that can help get your team wins and put points on the board. So, I think as far as his situation goes, and because it's a new regime now, it's going to be based on like report card thing. You know what I mean? Like this year, they're going to evaluate him. They're going to see if they like him for their system because it's going to be a new offensive system that he's got to learn and adapt to, just like every other player on this team. And let's see what happens because, to be quite honest, Kirk Cousins later in his career is kind of like a Jared Goff, where everybody picks on Jared Goff just like everybody picks on Kirk Cousins, but he's still decent. He's still a good quarterback. He's good enough to be a starter. And the only difference is that Kirk is at the end of his rope. You know what I mean? And just like you brought up, towards the end of his contract, what does that mean? Are they rebuilding? Are they retooling? What do they have? Honestly, this is more of a team that's closer to a retool than rebuild, because they do have a quarterback. They do have some stellar players like Adam Thielen, even though he's getting older, and Justin Jefferson, and a young offensive line. You got Christian Darrisaw, Ezra Cleveland. These are all young guys that are still really good. Garrett Bradbury. Their offensive line is really solid, and they're younger. So you got a good receiving core. You got KJ Osborne, who kind of got some more playing time last year, showed something. Maybe they can build off of that. And B.C. Johnson, too, was another underrated player on that team as a receiver. But going forward, I feel like the offense is in better shape than defense. I think the defense has gone through some changes, obviously. I mean, you look at what they've attacked in the offseason, and they were just trying to plug holes, it seemed like, in free agency especially. Armon Watts they bring in, Dalvin Tomlinson from the Giants, Harrison Phillips from Buffalo. These are players that are decent players, but they're not guys that are going to be game changers. You know what I mean? So they did a lot of patching, I feel like, on the defense. Jordan Hicks, inside linebacker. So as much as they got younger in terms of the rookies that they drafted at corner and safety, again, we have to see if they're legit.
Yeah.
So there's no guaranteed answer that they're going to be really good. And then beyond that, you got a lot of aging veterans.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson, Harrison Smith, Jordan Hicks, like I mentioned. One guy that's going to be amazing for them is Darius Smith.
Yeah.
So they're going
after he backed out of that Baltimore deal.
Yeah, they're going through some major changes on that defensive side of the ball. Now, that's dangerous too in itself because, yes, on top of learning a new defense, now you got a bunch of new players together. They got to get chemistry together. They got to be able to, know what each other is doing. And so a lot of changes doesn't necessarily mean success. And I would say that's the reason why you see them attack this offseason. They're trying to stay in the hunt, in other words. So they retooled the roster. They're going to see if they can win with what they have. But, all that being said, I think Kirk Cousins is going to stay a Viking. And I know some people don't want to hear that, but unless you have extreme production or extreme development by Kellen Mond, who they drafted a couple years ago, to really kind of push Kirk, I don't see any kind of change like that at quarterback happening.
Yeah, I mean, do you see this draft is going to be a little better? You're going to have a lot of those different guys here coming into the draft. Do you see maybe even Rattler, maybe somebody like him falling to them? Then maybe they might go for a quarterback or something like that if they trickle back down to one of their picks if they finish further down the line. You know what I mean? And
I see what you're saying.
They're not going to. I don't think they're going to be one of those top 5 picks, you know what I mean, to
Never
be able
know.
to get so, but they could potentially, but
They very
with the
well
way
could
this
be.
division is, and and I think even look at their schedule, I think they'll still be okay and be in the mix of things. But if a quarterback does fall to them, do you think they even pull the trigger on one this year? That way they have one sitting behind another one, like maybe these guys they might see better. Like if you said, if they're not totally sold on Mond, because he was a guy that was with the previous regime as well.
Right.
So, I mean, he might not exactly be their guy of these guys here that joined in.
No, but when you got guys like Nate Stanley, Sean Mannion, I'm sorry, those guys are aging. They've been in the NFL. They've done whatever they could. Sean Mannion might stay on the team as like a second or third string quarterback, but I know Sean Mannion has some ties to the new regime, so most likely he'll be safe. He understands the new offense coming in. But Kellen Mond, I think, is a talented quarterback that just needs a lot more development. A guy that can also be mobile for you, and has a cannon for an arm. So I feel like this new regime could fall in love with him. But again, it's going to come down to Kellen Mond and his work ethic and him being able to, digest the playbook that he has, and if he can execute. I think Mond is a potential future quarterback for them? Yes, because the development still has to continue for him. But do I think they're going to draft a quarterback? Absolutely, it could happen. I mean, when you look at their offense is actually young and ready to go. The only side of the ball that isn't is defense. So if Kirk Cousins was to struggle big time this year, then that kind of makes the decision easier, right? Then the new regime's like, he's not our guy. We're not going to redo a contract unless you want to sign for cheap, and try to win the job, because then it'll be an open job for any quarterback that comes in there. So I feel like there's no strings attached to Kirk, but they're going to evaluate him as they go through this season. And just to your point, this upcoming draft, this is supposed to be a better quarterback draft. So best believe that the Vikings are going to do their due diligence on this year's quarterback crop. And if they fall in love with somebody or a couple of guys, whatever, and one of them are there, you can't pass up that quarterback position. So you bet that they're going to take one this next draft.
Absolutely. So there you go. There's our NFC North biggest questions. That's right. Next week we'll give you the South, so we're excited for that. A lot of questions here face some of these guys, and a lot of younger quarterbacks. Justin Fields again put into his the starting shoes again. Now the team is fully his after the whole what's going on with different quarterbacks with them and Matt Nagy last year. That was a kind of a weird carousel that was happening with them, but. Now it's fully his team. Let's see if he progresses despite not having a guy like Allen Robinson there. Aaron Rodgers without Devontae Adams. Oh man, who would have guessed it? But still some free agents out there.
A lot of them.
Pull the trigger on some of these guys. Odell Beckham Jr. still floating around there too as well. You've heard about ties like him still wanting to
go
up
back to
with
Rams,
or just even there. The Rams are saying, "Hey, bring it on back." But then you keep hearing in social media that he wants to be back with Jarvis Landry again. But I can't see the Saints pulling in a guy like that though too to bring him up with Landry and still drafting Chris Olave and still having Michael Thomas. So if you did bring in Odell Beckham Jr., what are you going to do with that wide receiving core? Are you going to then unload Michael Thomas then or something? Or what are you doing?
No,
so I don't think that really makes sense.
No,
a lot of people will probably cram it down there because they see the Jarvis Landry kind of mix whatever.
Not at
but
all.
I don't really see that happening.
And that's not what teams do. We know that. Teams aren't going to chase it because listen, they have a complete receiving core.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's not like they're missing one piece.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say, for example, if Michael Thomas was hurt and couldn't make it back, and they need that number one, that makes all the sense in the world. Now you bring Odell, you have Chris Olave, you have Jarvis Landry. That's really nice. But they have a complete receiving core, so that is not going to happen. If it does, I will be absolutely floored. I won't understand it, but I will be floored. But what's more likely to happen is Odell, he's also expressed interest to go back to Cleveland now that they have Deshaun Watson. But even though, here's the problem, and Jim, you kind of alluded to it when it started to stir up again, as these civil court cases now are kind of stagnating the development for this Cleveland Browns offense, because Watson now still has to go to court, still is dealing with a lot of issues. And it turns out that this dude was being enabled to do, and I don't know if he did it or not. I just want to put it out there. Like, we're not saying he's guilty or he definitely did it or whatever, but the report is out there that's saying that the Texans enabled Deshaun Watson to get massages from, it sounded like they said like 66 girls or something like that, and they knew about it. And they knew that he might have made some advances and maybe had happy endings and what have you. So if that's true, it's going to decimate the Cleveland Browns, because now you might face a very harsh penalty for Deshaun Watson. He most likely he might not even play another season.
And they said that they did their due diligence here and investigating all here, but now these other complaints have come out to other women and similar stories. And then this whole thing, like you said, how many massages do you really need? Like, you could get a massage and it's nice, and it's a luxury that people with money and also athletes have to just get a massage, and work those muscles. But how bad do you need it? Do you need to use the team facilities to invite and multiple ones.
Right.
Not even say this is
Yeah,
my
yeah,
masseuse. I like
Yeah,
it the
no.
best. This is what she
No,
does.
no.
Multiple.
Yeah.
There's a lot of smoke here, So
Absolutely.
I'm thinking there's going to be a big fire that's going to burn this MFer down.
We'll have to wait and see. However, what's even crazier is this guy's got multi-million dollars at his disposal.
Mm-hmm.
Why not hire escorts? Why not have? I don't understand.
Not sure. Maybe it's a thing.
With
Maybe
this
it's
kind
a
of-
certain fetish that he has. I don't know.
It might
it's true
be,
though. I
but
don't know.
I'm just
If this
saying,
looks bad.
like if I'm in his shoes,
Yeah.
I'm being the most discreet as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not having to. I don't know. I just. We'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out. But it
Isn't
looks
it,
like
isn't it a Cleveland thing though for this to happen? Again, when you think that they are like, oh man, like you saw back where we got Odell Beckham Jr., we got Jarvis Landry, we got this. This is our time. Here we go. Now they go and do that trade. They've got Deshaun Watson. They're like, here we go. Now we've got this, and this is happening to where now he might face these charges, miss time. Baker Mayfield's not going to OTAs, so and you know how he's like, well, I ain't just gonna go into that spot because you didn't want me anyways. So we might see Jacoby Brissett here more often than any of these quarterbacks in this season.
well.
How intriguing is that for the Cleveland Browns?
The thing with Baker though is it's already agreed upon for him not to be there. It's a mutual thing.
Oh, yeah.
So he got permission to be exempt for coming to, not to come to mandatory OTAs.
Right.
And, and Cleveland actually came out with a report and said that they're willing to rework his deal in order to maybe, consummate a trade there. And that still is probably in the works. Beyond that, like you're bringing up Brissett, could be the quarterback for them and everything. This is kind of like the biggest nightmare in Cleveland right now. Because, honestly, even when they had Odell and Jarvis Landry, but they had Baker at quarterback, did I think Cleveland was better? Yes. Did I think they were going to just take the league by storm with just having those two receivers and Baker? No, because Baker was a average quarterback. You know what I mean? Wasn't a really good quarterback to kind of take him over the hump. Just average at that point. So now you have Deshaun Watson. I mean, to be completely honest, Deshaun Watson, a higher caliber of quarterback, makes your organization that much better. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Even when Adams maybe was a non-factor or was taken out of the game plan altogether, he still found a way to get the ball to guys like Randall Cobb and to score points.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And other guys. Deshaun Watson is that big difference for Cleveland. And it would really suck for Cleveland. You talk about Cleveland being, isn't this so Cleveland? Yes, it absolutely is. It would absolutely suck for them because now they finally have that franchise quarterback that can deliver. He's already been proven. And you might not have him for this season.
What the fuck is going on?
That's what Cleveland Browns fans would be like. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, again, too, yes, we've seen what he can do last time he was even playing, but if he's able to sit out again this whole time, it'd be like a year and a half, 2 years since we've even seen what he's able to do. I'm worried about getting him out there and then maybe some kind of injury or something like that, too, as well. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's athletic still, but I mean, that scares the hell out of me if I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, though, too, because, again, we've seen when some of these guys take some of these plans. Well, I bet he's getting a lot of massages, so he's probably feeling really nice.
Well, no, he's got tons of time. He's 100% healthy. He's probably never felt better having all this time off. I mean, and you got to remember, he's been working out. It's not like he just stopped working out because he's got to go to court.
Right,
So-
but working out, we've already said a bunch of times now, too, working out is not the same as getting football play time. You know what I mean? And being in there and getting real live action time.
I mean, there's football shape, but quarterbacks, they're not offensive linemen. They're not D linemen. They're not corners. They're not receivers. They're not taking that much punishment. And with the way the league protects them so much, there's no real
plays, though, too.
There's no real, like, they don't really have to be in so-called football shape.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about even the shape that he's in. But, yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying with that, but I'm just saying about being able to, be able to take some of those hits even, too, because, again, his stature and not being able to be out there and get some of those hits.
He's pretty big, first of all. And second of all, he
but
doesn't take hard hits. Even
occasion.
when he was with Houston, he would just get out of the way. He would get out of bounds real quick or something like that. So he's smart, and I wouldn't be concerned about that at all. And not to mention, Cleveland does have a decent offensive line, so it's not like he's going into a catastrophic situation there. But again, he still has to get over this huge hurdle with the court cases. And now I'm concerned. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, now you have to – before it was like, holy shit, we got Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're going to take
this.
the division now. You know what I mean? You got to be really pumped. Now, with all these court cases going on still, and the most likely or kind of like the most real scenario that could play out is that he might not just get suspended, but he might get suspended for a whole season if he's found convicted of these accusations.
Absolutely. The other big headline that's happened recently is Aaron Donald now getting the 3-year deal, but it's more like a 2-year deal, $30 million a year, highest paid non-quarterback right now, of all time here. So what do you think about that? And then we hear the news today about Cooper Kupp getting his deal, and I talked about this with some other people. Well, Cooper Kupp still got to get his deal, and I'm telling you, they're going to just write a check and get it done, and they did. The Sam Kroenke, we talked about it when we talked about the Waltons buying the Broncos, and he's part of that family. They just write the checks. They just don't care. Their salary cap, throw it out the window. We don't care. Let's get it done. Let's get these guys locked in. They're looking to try and make another run to win this Super Bowl, go back-to-back, but it's going to be a tough run for them.
So the salary cap, everybody's under the salary cap. Everybody. And the interesting part of all this is with Donald's big deal, big extension that he got, it actually saved them cap space too on top of that. So they were able to be more free with the new contract, or I should say not new contract, new extension.
The extension
for Kupp. It was a 3-year extension, and the funny thing is he still had 2 years on his deal. He had this year and next year. So basically, it turns out after that 3 years, it turns into a 5. He's still under contract for 5 years. If you're only counting the 3-year extension, it's on average around $20 million a year, with guarantees and incentives and what have you. But the way they structured it, I can almost guarantee this. The way they structured it is that it's kind of stretched. So it's an extension, but they probably pulled some of that money across into the last 2 years of his deal. So that way it kind of stretches it out and keeps that cap space friendly. So they lock up Cooper Kupp, and they bring back Aaron Donald, and they're going to make another run. I mean, it's not far-fetched.
The one thing I'm worried about is
say.
that offensive line for them, though, too. Again,
It's still good.
It's still, again, they don't have Whitworth there, too. I mean, a veteran that was protecting him, and a Pro Bowler. So that's one thing you're missing there for them. The sad thing for me is, again, the Giants still have less cap space than they do, and they're nowhere in the same position that the Rams are.
And that all comes down to your GM and how the contracts are constructed. I mean, some guys are really good at it. They're cap savvy. They know how to construct these contracts to year-to-year basis, like to figure it all out. And there's GMs and front office staff that are just absolutely terrible at it. So, and Dave Gettleman, I mean, he wasn't that contract savvy type of GM. And he relied on his staff, but they obviously weren't that good at it either.
No, absolutely. And you know what? The people that are good at things, it's the Albany Empire, Joe, our local NAL team.
That's
the Arena League. That's right.
Yes.
And why don't you tell everybody about the Albany Empire, where you can possibly get some tickets?
Let's go. Albany Empire, baby. Let's go. The Albany Empire are back at MVP Arena this Sunday, June 26th. Buy your tickets today at albanyempirenal.com or by calling 518-714-2200, extension 101. Listen, this is the place to be. June 26th. It's a 2 p.m. Sunday game. Everybody should be there. albanyempirenal.com. That's where you can get your tickets, or call them at 518-714-2200, extension 101. Albany Empire, baby. Let's take it back.
Let's do it. You know that video I filmed myself right there. I mean, that's great production right there. I love that video. It was good. You would think that was a professional that did that one. But yeah, absolutely. Empire, I've checked out their home games here this year. And then another loss to the Carolina Cobras again. But that's another good team. We saw them last year in the playoffs.
We even talked to the owners.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, they were just see these two teams blow for blow. I talked to Cisse after the game too as well.
Yep.
He said, "Man, it's tough after a loss again." I'm like, "That's right. We still got the chip, though. We're going to see him again. We're going to see him for the chip. Let's do it then." And he goes,
Right.
"Damn right. Let's do it again." So how about that? And even if you can't go to the home games, they travel. I just found out today, too, that there's going to be an actual viewing party at Hooters this Saturday. This
All
Saturday at 1 p.m. Saturday. Go to Hooters in Albany, everybody. And you can hang out with Levac and Gaz. President Levac is going to be there.
Yes.
And Gaz, our man.
That's our boy.
Doing a pregame show before then. And there's a watch party. So you can watch the game.
That's cool.
From, I think they're in, where are they? I think they're in Texas this week. In Texas. And it's a 3 p.m. start here. The game's going to start there. And watch it at Hooters. What a better place than Hooters to watch arena football, talk to the president that's there, and hang out with our man Gaz right there in Godzilla Media.
Absolutely.
So absolutely check that out, too, this weekend. Yeah, absolutely. So that's it. That's it for us this week. It's a short show, but not a whole lot going on. But we had a lot of fun still, Joe.
All I gotta say is I think our show is better than those other guys' shows. Yeah. At least we talked football and not talked about, who's the most likable football player, Jim?
I don't know.
Do you know
Who
what
has the best hair?
Who cares?
I don't know.
But we're going to give you some real football content right here. Listen, we're the most interactive show that you're ever going to see on YouTube or Facebook. So make sure you dial it in right here. If you're going to head over to YouTube, do us a favor. Please head over to YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Search us up, Football on the No Show. Hit the notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. Also, drop down in the comments. Like the video, because that really does help our channel. It helps push us up in that laundry list of other shows. Maybe we get pushed up and we can kind of branch out and find some new know-it-alls out there. And if you're on Facebook, become a member, become a know-it-all on Facebook, Football on the No Show. We are here for you guys. Listen, every single week we're going to give you hardcore football content right here. Show up next Wednesday night. We'll be here.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.